Hi Year 9s, this is my first attempt at making a video to help you to understand some of the things that we're going to be looking at for our essay and our assessment tasks for Animal Farm. So if you follow along this video, you can open up a PDF copy of Animal Farm at the same time. And if you've got your homework out, you can look along with that as well. So we're going to start by just going over some of the things that we went over in class. So if you sit in class and you kind of go, I don't know what's going on, it's too fast, then you can watch this video, you can pause it, take notes, you can slow down, you can watch it again as many times as you like. So remember the novel opens with Mr. Jones and Manor Farm, and we talked about this impression that's created. So Orwell creates this impression of Mr. Jones as being like lazy, he's being careless, greedy, remembering that Mr. Jones and Mrs. Jones represent the Tsars and Tsarinas of Russia at the time, at the specific context, but they could represent any rulers that are corrupt. And we know that they create this impression of carelessness, of greediness, because he is drunk and he's, before he goes to bed, the last thing he does is have a drink of beer, and then Mrs. Jones is snoring. And so then what happens is we have Old Major and the rest of the animals gather together in the farm, and they wait. Everyone's quite willing to lose an hour's sleep in order to hear what he had to say, because Old Major, was highly regarded. Now, Old Major symbolizes or represents Karl Marx, who was the founder or the creator of this idea of Marxism. And so it opens, the novel opens with the animals listening and the description of the animals as they come on in, and the animals listening as Old Major makes this speech. And so you look at in answer to the question, we have Old Major, and the position of him, so he's ensconced, which kind of means like settled in, I guess. And he's 12 years old, which is quite old for a pig. And he's raised on this platform, and he has a wise and benevolent appearance. Benevolent is an adjective that means kind or caring. So we have this contrast that's set up. So George Orwell sets up this contrast, or this juxtaposition, which means putting two opposite things next to each other. We have Mr. and Mrs. Jones, who are drunk, really uncaring, and they are contrasted with Old Major, who appears next, who is benevolent, wise, caring, and kind. And we have this impression of kindness that's created. And later on, we have all of the animals situated. We have the pigs and the dogs in the front, and then Boxer and Clover, who come in and they can kind of sit at the back, and the cows, and then if we continue on, we have, interestingly, an impression of Molly, who is the mare, and she's described as foolish and pretty, and she's chewing at a lump of sugar. So this impression that's created of Molly, she really likes the luxuries. She likes these sweet things. She represents materialism. So people who just want the best of everything and don't really care if it's hurting somebody at the same time. And this speech begins, and we are going to analyze the speech as part of an assessment task. So I won't necessarily go through that right now. I'll have a separate video on that one. But it's really important that you note down all of the different devices and implications that we have in this speech. What I will go through, though, is the Beasts of England, which is coming down here on page 5. We have the repetition of the phrase, Beast of England, Beast of Ireland, Beast of every land and clime. So this repetition of beasts of is an appeal, showing that it's not just in England, it's not just in Ireland, but everywhere. So I guess what the implication is, or the impression it's trying to create, is that this animalism is not just for one group of people, for one country, but it's for all of the countries. And there's this impression that's created of this golden future time. So the idea is that if animalism is implemented, that there will be joyful tidings. Now, interestingly, this idea of joyful tidings, it kind of has an impression of Christmas. We have this, joy and tidings of great joy, which is in famous Christmas carols. So we have this really positive impression that's created of the future. And we have an impression at the same time of man as being evil. We have tyrant man. And that is contrasted with, in the next line, the fruitful fields of England. So the word tyrant has this impression of being power hungry, powerful but power hungry, all controlling. And the positive image of the future again is reinforced by this idea of these fruitful fields of England. And we have here images of slavery, images of animal slavery, rings from our noses, rings shall vanish from our noses, and the harness on our back, bit and spur shall rust forever, cruel whips no more shall crack. So this positive impression of the future again is reinforced by showing how the images of this slavery, the animals of slavery, will disappear. And the next stanza, that word there is stanza. The next stanza has wealth, but wealth for beasts isn't necessarily money, but food. So we have the idea of riches more than mind can picture, and the riches are wheat, barley, oats, hay, clover, beans. And so this positive impression of the future is reinforced and created through an image of full fields with all of these types of produce and crops in it. And who shall it be? It shall be ours. And this is a use of inclusive language. That's appealing to the animals. And again, this sense of hope and optimism is created in this song through the use of vocabulary choice in the next stanza here. Bright will shine the fields of England. So the words bright and shine have this great positive connotations. And so we're having positive adjectives: bright, pure, sweet, on the day that sets us free. So the us again is inclusive language. But finally, there is this call to action. So this beautiful future, the future of wheat and barley and oats and hay, and these bright, shining fields of England, sweet breezes, pure waters, for that day, for that to occur, we all must labour. So this song is saying that everyone must work hard if we want this future. And it's encouraging sacrifice here. Though we die before it break. And inclusive language again, cows and horses, geese and turkeys. So not just one species, but all the species must work together. And that's emphasized here. All must toil for freedom's sake. And finally, there's a repetition again of the beginning stanza. Beasts of England, beasts of Ireland, beasts of every land and clime, hearken well and spread my tidings. So not just joyful tidings, but this call to action to rebel, but also to spread the song, which we know later happens. And so what happens is the singing of the song sends the animals into this wild excitement. And I love this line here. Even the stupidest of them had already picked up the tune and a few of the words. And for the clever ones, they had the entire song by heart memorized. And I think it's really trying to emphasize that propaganda is used, and we'll talk about propaganda, but governments around the world use propaganda, use slogans, use phrases, they use catchphrases, they use songs and ads and jingles to try and get the people to repeat it and to put it into their mind so that they may spread the same message that the government wants them to spread. And so that is chapter 1. I'm trying to turn it off now if I can get this to work. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that Year 9. And turning off.